understanding something more is only useful as much as you plan to like absorb the action you can take away that makes your life better, that makes your life happier, easier, that makes this thing not happen again. And until you're ready to get to the point where, okay, I'm thinking this through and I'm going to do something about it, you thinking it through is just like, okay, I'm ruining my day. Or not like ruining your day, like ruining your moment, ruining like the amount of time you're ruminating on this topic is not useful rumination. I probably said this other ways like many times before, but I think like lately I've been uncovering like these new angles to myself, or just like learning more about like my mind and like why I see things a certain way, or like why certain things seem to like cause a friction point for me, a tension point for me, or seem to just irritate me because I'm finding myself getting irritated about certain things. But then I reached this point yesterday where I was like, look, okay, cool. I get how this thing works. But actually, sometimes I'm not in the mood to try to dissect why this person is being like an evil rat towards me or whatever it is. Especially if like I either can't do something about it, or now I know like, okay, fine. The only thing for me to do about this situation is to learn to live around this person, or around this particular dynamic that like causes the same tension over and over again, because only an idiot does the same thing over and over again and expects different results. And okay, cool. Then I reached that point, right? And I do think, of course, it's worth doing the exploration to get to a point of understanding of yourself again, so you can take action. But now I've realized what the action should be. I'm also just realizing that the action itself is disappointing. You know what I mean? Like the action itself is disappointing, where it's like, okay, yeah, cool. I'm glad I figured that out. But it's not a nice thing to have figured out. It's not like a ideal thing to have figured out. It like is like, damn, okay, that kind of sucks. And so I get it. I'm doing it. I'm moving forward with my life and blah, blah, blah. But it's not pleasant. And then when I don't get it right and the friction point comes up again, it's like, oh, okay, learning my lesson. I now know why that happened the way it did, because I now have kind of gotten to the bottom of whatever this dynamic or friction is. Like, I get it. But at the same time, it's like, okay, cool, bitch, you get it, do it. Okay, and if you already understand why something is happening, you already understand how to adjust your behavior so it doesn't happen again. But then the behavior, whatever, you didn't just adjust it perfectly, or you're introducing new elements that like sharpen your approach to a situation to prevent the same issues, and you get it a little bit wrong and it comes back, it's like, that shouldn't sting anymore, in my opinion. Like it shouldn't sting nearly as bad as it used to sting when you didn't know what was going on. And so when you allow it to still sting as if you don't know why that thing is happening, you don't know what your role or contribution to that situation, like you don't know, like acting like you don't know exactly what you did that also led it to happen in a certain way, then it's like, okay, you're hurting your own feelings to go back and then not just let it sting in the moment, because sure, it's going to sting because you did it wrong and you know that, but to ruminate on it beyond that, because you know why it's happening. You know what to do. So why are you ruminating on the fact that like you got it wrong? That's like saying, okay, I took this test and the first time I took it, I failed it. And I failed it over and over and over and over again. And then one day I sat down and said, what the fuck? Why do I keep failing this test? Like, why do I keep failing? Like, that's actually really annoying. Okay, actually, I'll give a real life example, because I feel like like me talking around this is like not maybe clear. In the 11th grade, I was taking this English class, and I'd always been, strong with like writing in English, but I think like my quality of writing like took a dip at some point. So I get to the 11th grade and I'm taking this English class, and I was getting like poor grades in my eyes on on my essays. Okay. And I would like submit these essays. I think I submitted like 2 or so essays that I did not do well in. And I was like, what the fuck? And then I go to the teacher and I'm like, hey, like, I don't know why I keep messing this up. Like, can I figure out like what's going on here, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, okay, the next essay is like a different essay type. And I guess she thought maybe, or we both thought maybe, okay, the next essay, because it's a different style of essay, it won't go as badly as I thought the first two had gone. Which really, it's like, it wasn't about, the grade for me. I'm like, I actually want to figure out what's going on here. But that was the advice she gave when I came to her to try and fix it. So again, something is going away that I don't like, which is the essay writing. I go get feedback from the person who grades the essay writing, right? Because that's what's also not going right, is like the grade is off, which is also indicating something's wrong. I go to the person that I think can help me figure it out. Cool. We go take another essay. I still do as badly as the first two essays. I'm like, okay, literally cut the cameras, dead ass. Like, cut the cameras. At this point, it's like, okay, I went to go seek counsel on adjusting this thing. It's still fucked up. Like, no, we need to do something about this. So I go back to her and we figure out a system to fix the essay writing. And I start just like writing essays, like aside from like the class essays, I'm like getting prompts, writing these essays, getting feedback for these essays. The thing is, of course, like I'm not going to fix them perfectly immediately, but she gave me really great advice and then we really improved. But obviously at the end of this experience, my essay writing was extremely strong. And I'd say now to this day, a lot of the things that I think make my writing good came from her, even if I don't always remember consciously exactly what I'm doing. But yeah, it was a very useful learning experience for me. But of course, to draw that scenario to the lesson I'm trying to communicate today, right? Let's say in the process of, we wrote the first two essays, I didn't like them. I go to speak to the person, cool. Write the third essay, still garbage. And then now we're in the stage of practicing the essays. If the fourth essay that we do is like a practice essay, I do poorly in. And at this point, like, I've spoken to this woman twice now. I do understand, or even the fifth essay, and I do understand much better, like, what it is I seem to be doing wrong in a way that I didn't understand, obviously, when I wrote the first two essays that I kept messing up. If I still allowed myself to be as deeply offended that I was messing up at essay 5 as I was at essay 2, that doesn't make sense. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, because at essay 2 and whatever, I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I can look through the essays. I'm trying to self-assess. Clearly, I'm not figuring it out. I go to someone to get help. Essay number 3, I still don't know what's going on. But the thing is, now it's like, I have gotten some advice and it's not working. So it's like, damn, okay, I really feel like that should have gone better. Cool. But if now in the process of trying to improve actively, in the process of, okay, I think I know what's going wrong here, I'm getting better little by little every day. The grade or the feedback, more importantly than the grade, the feedback is improving every time. If I was still as offended on essay 5 as I was on essay 2, that wouldn't make sense because I now know that I'm on the journey to improvement. So I just have to trust the process and not let it sting so much. Because if I let it sting so much that on essay 5 I've made a mistake, when I know that by essay 7, I probably won't make mistakes anymore, then it's like I could lose myself in the sting. Like I could lose myself. So for example, even on essay 3, after talking to her, the essay went badly for essay 3, blah, blah, blah. If I was so offended that I went to that lady and I asked for help on these essays and I still didn't seem to improve, and I let it sting and I let myself be like, oh my goodness, why does she always do this? She gave me, and I make it about the grade. She gave me a bad grade on the first 2 essays. I asked for her for help and then she gave me a bad grade on the third essay. Do you see now I'm pushing it onto her? I'm hurting my own feelings. And now I'm not focused on growth anymore because I'm so distracted by the fact that it stings that I've not fixed my problem. And I think that's a waste of time. And I'm saying this to you because I need to say it to myself. That's a waste of time. If you know you are on the road to recovery on something, if you know that you finally had diagnosed an issue in your life in some way, material or immaterial, but for whatever reason, it frustrates you. If you know you've diagnosed it, that's something to celebrate because you can't cure something you can't diagnose. That's why if you hear anyone's story about a literal physical illness, they're battling mental illness too. Part of it is like
they can't fix an illness they don't know what's going on. That's why doctors work so hard to figure out what the hell is going on, because then they can start to look into remedying the situation. But if you don't know what's wrong with you, you'll just keep suffering, because like, what do you do next? You don't even know what's causing the thing that's hurting you. So diagnosing an issue is a powerful step. And all of the work that goes into the effort to diagnose your situation is necessary, even if it's painful, and you have to be, strategic about the way you do that. But once you've diagnosed an issue and you're now on the path to recovery, because you at least know what the hell is going on. And if on that path to recovery, you're taking the steps to remedy yourself, but you're not instantly cured, and then you start to get angry that you're not instantly cured, lock in. Sorry, illness makes it seem like that's a much more serious example, obviously, than like a freaking high school essay. But no, lock in, because you're diagnosed. Thank God. We know what's going on. I'm not just talking about health, because that's like very serious, but like anything, right? You're diagnosed. You know what's going on. You know why you fight with that friend. You know why you view the world this way. You know why you have this childhood wound. You know why it's important to you to feel heard when you talk to people, or you know why this certain behavior seems to hurt your feelings in a special way. Fantastic. Thank God. Thank God you know why. But I think especially like our generation of like, I don't want to like minimize the idea of people having trauma, but I do feel like sometimes, because now we've discovered the fact that trauma or things in your childhood can create wounds that sustain into life, because we've identified this, sometimes I think we identify it with it too much, to the point where we get stuck at the fact that we've diagnosed ourselves and we don't actually move forward. So the diagnosis is almost a gift, because now you know how to change that behavior. Because there are other people who have been diagnosed with that thing before who have also evolved, right? And again, not just talking about health, because that can have its own special nuances, but even just in general life, right? There are other people that have been through what you've been through, that have seen the situation you're seeing right now, that have seen the dynamic that you're discovering for the first time, that have been lonely at the top, because every song was about being lonely at the top. You know what I'm saying? There are other people that have lived that, and they've come away with it, right? And still had a wonderful life. So can you. And so don't get stuck. Don't get stuck at, now I know what's going on, but it's not fixed perfectly yet. Okay, Rome wasn't built in a day. Like Rome wasn't built in a day. You have to cut yourself a little bit of slack, and also stop hurting your feelings, because it's iterative. It's an iterative process. Growth. Having a growth mindset is an iterative process. But once you say, I'm in the process, and you let things fly off of you, like things are only as difficult as you make it. I saw this really cool TikTok yesterday, and I let it play a few times, because can I just like sideline for a bit? I hate when I'm watching a video on TikTok and like they're putting really sick ass screenshots on the screen, but they flash them for like 1 second or like 0.5 seconds. I swear to God, if you edit videos, don't do that shit. I want to read it. They don't even, this is the thing. It's one thing to flash it and remove it, but you don't even give me long enough to pause the video and read it. You're driving me insane. Like, I don't know, maybe there's this assumption that no one's going to read it anyway. I want to read it. I want to read the damn thing. If the whole video and like you're spitting fire, like the whole video is like gold, like liquid language gold, and then there's stuff on the screen for me to read to, and there's images, and you're making these beautiful connections, and then I can't even fucking pause the thing and read it, I am going to be annoyed. So like, I don't know, in case you're like, don't do that. Anyways, I had to watch the video several times because I was trying to like read at least some of the screenshots or like pause them. But anyways, the video is basically saying how like, it gave an example of a panda that had only grown up around humans, and so it had learned to grimace when it broke bamboo, because humans grimace at the difficulty, quote unquote, of breaking bamboo, because bamboo is like a very tough plant, right? But pandas have a lot of strength, and they're like, that's all they eat. So it's not difficult for pandas to break bamboo, and pandas in the wild don't grimace when they break bamboo, because again, it's not hard for them to do, or at least they don't act like it's hard for them to do. But because this panda had only been around humans, it started to mimic the humans' suffering around them by grimacing when it breaks its bamboo. So when I say things are only as hard as you make it, sometimes when you're like in the process where you're actively growing because you know what you want to do, like you have this garden, you've identified the weeds versus the plants, you know what seeds you want to plant to make the garden flourish, you know that it needs water, you know that it needs this, it needs sunlight, it needs whatever. And then in the process of trying to like grow this garden, maybe it doesn't rain for a few days or something happens or like a blight comes through. Is blight the right word? Or like there's like a pest infestation or whatever that happens to your garden. And it's like you start freaking out as if it's the end of the world. And it's like, no, you know that you're committed to this garden. You already know that, okay, the garden has some issues. You're going to see setbacks. But things shouldn't sting you as much every single time there's a setback now because you already know you're pushing forward. You already know what the ending is. There's also an episode I made about like seeing your life as a movie that has a predetermined ending, right? And you decide that ending is a really great ending. And even when you watch a movie, if you don't know what the ending is of a movie, LOL, I have this like alarm app that like, anyways, so that's what you heard in the background. But yeah, if you watch a movie, even if you don't know the ending of the movie doesn't change while you're watching it. And so in real life, once you know the ending of your movie, even if the how and the in-between, like you're discovering it, you're seeing it for the first time, and even the ending will be a surprise to you technically, right? Because you've not seen it in your 3D yet. But if you know the ending of the movie, like you can just go through life like uncovering the how. But anyways, yeah, I like that panda example thing because it's like the core thing the guy was trying to say. He said a bunch of other stuff too, but it's not related to what I'm talking about today, so I'll try to stay on topic a little bit. But things are only as hard as you make it. It's not hard for a bamboo to like cut through, or sorry, a bamboo to cut through bamboo, a panda to cut through bamboo. But it started feeling hard because it was around other people that made it hard, or at least made it look hard. And sometimes too, when you're diagnosing your own situations and trying to like get to the core root of like the issue so you can tear it out of the ground, once you find the weed that you want to tear out of the ground, that doesn't mean it's going to come out of the ground without a fight. So as you're pulling and it snags, and maybe the act of pulling gets a cut through your glove or whatever. I don't really know how gardening works. I'm not much of an outside person. But as you're trying to tear that weed out of the ground, you know, at least you found the weed. At least you know the process with which you want to get rid of the weed. Maybe after a while you realize, okay, this is something that's too hard for me to tear physically out of the ground. I need to use other approaches. But again, it's an iterative process. So don't let the process of iteration frustrate you out of your end result and mess with your head and throw you off so much, because it will distract you to the point where you don't get the end result at all. But once you commit to the fact that this is a process, this is a journey, I'm going to grow through it, it's going to hurt a little bit sometimes, but at least I know that I'm moving forward now because I know what's going on. I have the diagnosis. And not even just like in an official capacity, even because when we talk about brain things, I think there's something comforting about a diagnosis too. But sometimes there's like a tendency to over-pathologize. So when I use the word diagnose, I really just mean once you feel like you get what's going on and what you can do, focus on just doing it. And also understand that you won't do it perfectly immediately, and you'll only improve. And as you make these mistakes, don't punish yourself the same way you did when you couldn't understand what was going on, because it's not the same thing. At this point, anything you learn because the same issue has bitten you one more time is good because you're slowly learning how to not be bit ever again. Like, would you rather like be bitten just a couple more times and know you'll never be bitten again and like it won't sting ever again because you're finally figuring out how to deal with this thing in a healthy way? Or would you rather keep running away from the fact because you're like, oh my God, it stings. And then you go running right into a different problem that's way bigger and harder to escape, and the cycle continues and the cycle begins again. Right. Anyways, so that was on my mind today, and I needed to say it to myself. There's like a lot of like backlog episodes in my head kind of, because I know myself, like if I don't record them immediately, I can't guarantee that I definitely won't say it the same way later than I would when I originally thought of the thing, which is why I usually just like click record. But your girl has been working. But the work irritated me. So, not the work itself, but the dynamics around it. So I was like, let me record this and also give myself a pep talk. So, yeah. Anyways, hope it's helpful to you out there as well listening. Thank you for thinking out loud with me. Welcome to Live Lumani. My name is obie. And I will see you guys next time. Oh, and follow the podcast. Follow the podcast. Don't forget, hit follow right now. And then, what was the last thing I was going to say? Yeah, follow the pod. I will see you next time. And don't forget to share this with a friend you think needs to hear it. Love ya. Mwah.